funny, serious, or both. They keep you guessing all the way. This scene is a perfect example of that. Christopher Walken approaches the little boy of the dead soldier. The reason he's there is to pass down a watch that's been passed down from generation to generation.
This was your great-grandfather's war watch, and he wore it every day he was in that war. And great-grandfather gave this watch to your granddad for good luck. Unfortunately, Dane's luck wasn't as good as his old man's. Dane was a Marine, and he was killed, along with all the other Marines at the Battle of Wake Island.
It all sounds very sincere and very touching, but then it goes into just a little too much detail.
The way your dad looked at it, this watch was your birthright. You'd be damned if any slope's going to put the greasy yellow hands on his boy's birthright, so he hid it. In one place he knew he could hide something, his ass. 5 long years he wore this watch, up his ass.
Yikes, that was really gripping until you brought up the ass part.
He died of dysentery. Give me the watch. I hid this uncomfortable hunk of metal up my ass 2 years.
I don't even like going to the proctologist. Ooh. And just like in Annie Hall, he's only in the movie for about 3 minutes. That's it. But also just like in Annie Hall, it left a huge impression. This is one of the shortest, but also one of the most famous scenes in the movie. And we can all see why. It's strange and unpredictable, just like the man himself. That uncomfortable hunk of metal has brought all of us so much joy. And the #1 most awkward Christopher Walken moment is every appearance on Saturday Night Live. Now don't get me wrong, I love Christopher Walken on Saturday Night Live. The Continental, more cowbell, has me laughing every single time. But let's be honest, his presentation is awful. Every second you can see him reading his lines. In fact, he does that in other movies too. You ever notice that? Look how often he stares off the screen. There's so obviously a cue card there. In fact, look at this scene from the Continental. You actually see him adjusting the cue cards. On top of that, he constantly gets the lines wrong, despite the fact that he's even reading them. There's one opening bit where they actually make fun of the fact that he reads his lines all the time. It's when he tries to sing the song Tomato, Tomato.
You say potato, and I say potato. You say tomato, and I say tomato.
I think you're supposed to say potato, potato.
Jimmy, look! They're all spelled the same on the cards.
Yeah.
And yet he still says a line too early. Watch.
Let's call the whole thing. Let's call the whole thing. Let's not call the whole thing off. Thing off.
And then
Let's not call the whole thing off.
even with cue cards, he keeps flubbing it up. The long pauses, the uncomfortable silences, the constant reading. Let's face it, it's impossible not to enjoy. Walken is one of those people where even if he fails, he still somehow ends up winning. Because it's obvious, he doesn't care what you think. He's just doing what he considers fun. And a lot of us can respect that.
I jumped out and pranked him to death with a tire iron. Whammy!
In fact, they even make fun of it on the closing scene in his DVD.
SNL has a great staff of writers who craft every line of the show.
Really? Because when I host, I just say whatever I want. I free associate and I make up the skits and bits right there.
Well, you're a special exception, I think.
Speaking of which, that DVD is for sale, and trust me when I say it's well worth the money. Every appearance he makes is hypnotizing, even if it's painful at times.
Mango, I'm your knight in shining armor, and I love you.
But either way, it's always hilarious. I hope he lives to be like 180, because that means there'll be a lot more SNL sketches in the future. And of course, a lot more cowbell.
I gotta have more cowbell, baby.
And those are my top 11 most awkward Christopher Walken Hello?
Critic, shame on you. How dare you accuse me of always reading my... Hold on 1 second. Lines.
Look, Mr. Walken, I don't care. To me, you'll always be the master of cool. You can do no wrong.
Glorious. Before I go, there's one last thing I want you to remember.
Yeah? What is it?
Are you listening? Are you listening? Are you listening? Alright, listen.
God, he's awesome.
I'll stab you in the face with a soldering iron.